We like to say here in Houston that this was the first word heard from the surface of the moon. And I guess when people from around the world hear the word Houston, they may think Texas Cowboys, but more often than not, they think NASA and the Johnson Space Center, because we have been part of the space program since its inception. As the mayor said, in 1961, this was NASA's first headquarters in this building, a building President Kennedy once visited, and of course, the Johnson Space Center, named after Lyndon B. Johnson, later built down in Clear Lake. A number of people from NASA, from the Johnson Space Center, have been intricately involved in putting together today's program, and I'd like to recognize them. First, Michael Coates, the director of the Johnson Space Center. Thank you, Mr. Coates, for joining us today. Also, Jeannie Aquino and Jay Bolden from the Office of External Affairs, and Ms. Rebecca Wright, who's the history coordinator. Thanks to the three of you today. I just wanted to recognize you. We also want to bring up now to the podium a man who's been in the space program a long time. He can tell you how long. Former NASA astronaut, a man who's been on a number of missions, one that included the deployment of the Hubble Space Telescope and the first joint U.S.-Russian shuttle mission. It is my pleasure to welcome back, and I say welcome back to Houston because he moved to Washington, D.C., the NASA Administrator, Charles Bolden. Charlie.
Tom, thank you very much. It's always a great pleasure to be here. Mr. Darchev, Mayor Parker, Galina and the Gagarin family, and honored guests. First of all, let me say a few thanks to Ekaterina and David. You were awesome. As I listened to each of you sing the respective national anthems, I had visions of buying we call them CDs and DVDs now, but who knows what it will be when you all are recording artists, and you may already be. But the new Andrea Bocelli and Sarah Brightman, they should watch out. I loved your voices, and thank you very much for the gift of song. Thanks also to the string trio, I think, if I counted right, earlier over during the reception. It was absolutely beautiful. And I want to take just a moment. I want to thank the city of Houston and your Russian partners for bringing us all together here in this city that has meant so much to space exploration over the past 50 years. And I mentioned to the mayor as she sat down, I said, you made the absolute right choice. And I said, I'll tell you why in a few minutes. I enjoin all of you to look on the cover of the program for today, and there are two quotes from John Glenn and Yuri Gagarin. Both of them are very prophetic, and both of them very apropos to today's occasion and to this place. I think the mayor made an absolutely perfect choice, and I must admit, I will fess up. This is my first time ever coming here. I did not know that this was the home of NASA. I knew it was somewhere in Houston, but I did not know here, so I confess to not being a very good historian. However, knowing what I know now, and knowing that this is a place that is the headquarters for the Houston Parks and Recreation, I can think of no better place than this place to remember John Glenn and Yuri Gagarin, because as the words of John Glenn say in the passage that was picked for the cover, what we do is about making life better for people here on Earth, and it begins with kids. And so as hopefully thousands and even more young kids get an opportunity to come to this place with their families, they'll have an opportunity to reflect on the history of human spaceflight and all that it means to us. When Yuri Gagarin became the first human to fly in space 51 years ago, and John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth 50 years ago, they turned science fiction into science fact and laid the foundation for a half-century of cooperation between our two countries in the exploration of our solar system. Gagarin's dream that humankind work together to preserve and increase the beauty of the planet he first saw from the window of that tiny space capsule has been kept alive by the spirit of mutual respect and cooperation that continues to grow between the space programs of the United States and Russia. And I will take a moment to step aside from my prepared remarks here, because there is a person here that I want to recognize as a dear friend and mentor. And I think as we talk about the partnership between the United States and Russia, should be thanked. And that's George Abbey, who's standing in the back. George is probably, if not the reason, he is a big reason that we are able to gather here today because against odds and advice otherwise, he insisted that we make this partnership grow. And George, I thank you for that. Thank you very much. You know, who would have believed 50 years ago at the start of the space race that today Americans and Russians would be working side by side on the International Space Station and standing in partnership to meet challenges of the future? President Obama has embraced that vision, and in his speech at the Kennedy Space Center 2 years ago, he said, and I quote, "No longer are we racing against an adversary. In fact, what was once a global competition has long since become a global collaboration," unquote. I am proud to count Russian cosmonauts among my closest friends. One is here today, and you'll hear from him in just a little while. But Sergei Krikalev and I flew together on STS-60, and Vladimir Titov was Sergei's backup. But they moved their families here to Houston and lived with us, in and among us, for a little bit more than 2 years, and put up with all of the strange things of Texas culture, not just U.S. culture, but Texas culture. And I'm reminded about another Yuri. It was actually Yuri Titov, who was 8 years old when he came here, and we moved them to Friendswood. And Yuri spoke no English. And in 6 months, Yuri was speaking fluent English, had his cowboy hat, big buckle, and cowboy boots. And so we had made the successful conversion of one Russian to become a Texan. And you know, that continued friendship has meant an awful lot to my family and to me. And now, as Sergei and I enjoy our respective leadership roles in our respective space programs, I know firsthand that the bond between our two space programs is strong. Even as America's space program ushers in a new era of deep space exploration and greater reliance on our U.S. commercial partners, we're committed to strengthening our cooperation with Russia on the International Space Station and in other joint efforts to explore the heavens and improve life here on Earth. Over the past 50 years, we have learned that we share the same appreciation for the human spirit and the same drive to explore the cosmos. Now, we have responsibility, as John Glenn put it, to teach and inspire young minds here in America and around the world so that they can take us to the next phase of space travel. And I am the eternal optimist, and I don't laugh at flight from here to Mars. We're working on it hard. It may not come as soon as I want, but it's coming. These stunning art pieces are inspirational reminders of how far we have come together. It's my hope that the paths blazed by Yuri Gagarin and John Glenn will not only continue to lead us to new worlds beyond our own, but will also lead us to greater peace, security, and prosperity for every citizen of planet Earth. After all, beyond all our technological achievements, everything we do in space is about making life better right here on Earth. It's about improving the human condition, expanding knowledge, and extending partnerships across Earth in pursuit of a larger goal that none of us can accomplish on our own. The bonds of friendship we have formed are deeply rooted in the heart of our space program, and I look forward to the future, knowing that we will build it together. Again, thank you to our Russian partners for their generous donation of these magnificent art pieces to the city of Houston. They are reminders of the pioneering achievements of two humble men and the shared hopes of two great nations. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Administrator Bolden. By the way, the statue of Yuri Gagarin depicts him reaching towards space, and it's by Russian artist Alexei Leonev, and it's really a spectacular piece. And then the piece about John Glenn, the first American to orbit the Earth 3 times in his Friendship 7 Mercury spacecraft, depicted in the steel panel artwork, and that is by artist Randy Twaddle. So thank you to both of the artists for their hard work and their inspiration. And as, really great pieces, aren't they? As Mr. Bolden said, we are fortunate today to have one of the Russian cosmonauts here, a Russian Air Force colonel and cosmonaut, Dr. Oleg Kotov. Dr. Kotov is a medical doctor and has served in numerous leadership roles at the Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Russia, and his many space missions include the International Space Station. So would you please welcome a colonel from the Russian Air Force, Oleg Kotov. Dr. Kotov.